We have Michelle from New York, she, her. The utility of a belief in God or gods and the supernatural is what she'd like to talk about. So, hi, Michelle. How are you?
Fellas. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hello.
So
yeah, I'd like to talk
where exactly you want to go?
What?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to ask you what you wanted to talk about. We have a little bit of a lag, so it's a little confusing. Sorry about that.
Yes. So I'd like to go, I guess, should we define the terms of spirituality and utility first, I guess? Would that be the right route, maybe? Because we want to make sure we're using it like in gods and God is and God. Where should we go first? Would you want to go to God and God's define that, and then define spirituality and that sort of thing? Maybe.
Well, it's your talk. So where do you think you should start at?
Well, let's go with defining spirituality first, because I think when we get into the realm of talking about a god or gods, that gets quite murky quick.
Fair enough.
For me, spirituality is any sense of a connection to something that is outside, something external, outside yourself, that you feel connected to, that makes you feel some sense of belonging in this world. Because I think that God wants us to feel at home on Earth and in this universe, as fractured as it is. And then if you want to define God, for me, God is not maximally powerful, but I think he limits his power. I think if he is all-knowing, I think he limited, like the Orthodox Church believes, that he may have actually limited his foreknowledge as to keep people's free will some sort of like intact. I guess that's why they believe that. Because if he doesn't limit his foreknowledge, then free will goes straight out the window. And the utility part is, of course, I'm going to say some things that you guys already mentioned, maybe that you don't like. But I think when you come to realize that the famous author said, truth is beauty and beauty truth, that if there's anything beautiful in faith or religion or anything mystical or spiritual, if it's beautiful, it is a form of truth, no matter how intrinsic or subjective or objective that truth is.
Okay. We got a whole bunch of stuff we covered here, so I don't want to go too much farther before we get a chance to respond. Mike, do you want to take the first shot at it?
I'm just curious, what's the question here? You're saying that God exists because he wants us to feel happy and good and at home? Is this the contention?
No. I think we exist. This earth exists because he wants us to feel good, and anything that we're connected to that's external from us that makes us feel connected to a greater, higher source, is something he wants us to feel.
Okay.
Because feeling that.
Okay, so he wants you to. So you're saying we exist because God wants us to feel good and happy. But we can look at, this immediately makes me think of the problem of evil. We can contrast the very good moments, and I agree there's amazingness happening in the world around us, but there's a degree of problems. There's a degree of evil that exists. I mean, we can surely look at things like cancer, bone cancer in children. I mean, why would that exist? Under your hypothesis, it seems very unlikely that God would want children to go through this.
Yes, that is true, and I've often struggled with the theodicy question as well. I think that's the ultimate question that really is probably the biggest nail in religion's coffin. Um, but you have to remember there
Okay.
is, and I don't normally go with the Bible on this one. It's just the creation story that I know the best.
So you agree that that would be evidence against God, right?
Huh? Huh?
So you agree that what I just stated would be evidence against God's existence, correct?
Yes. Well, yeah, of course, of course. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's the theodicy question is one of the biggest nails in the coffin. I mean,
Okay.
but
And so what else now, what else is your hypothesis offering to the table so that we can say, okay, which one's more likely, right? God existing or not, right? What is going to move us towards the God's existence? Because we can put forth a kind of naturalistic hypothesis that matches or exceeds your ability to explain the world around you.
I suppose you could. Yeah, you could, of course. But this is a fractured world. We live in a cursed, broken, fractured world. And of course, God was the one who planted the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden to begin with.
But you say it's a cursed world, but that's presuming your perspective on it. I mean, clearly this world may be indifferent. Maybe the universe doesn't care. The universe doesn't have a care about us. Why must it be that we live in a cursed world versus just a natural world that you don't like?
And why should we live in a cursed world rather than a natural world that I don't like or all of us don't like?
Yeah, you just don't like it. That's really what you're telling me, it seems.
No, I'm fine with the world. I like the world.
There are some things you don't like about it, right? The things you call cursed are just things you do not prefer to exist. That's what I mean.
Right. Like childhood sex slavery, starvation, poverty, that sort of thing. Childhood cancer, of course.
Yes. Well, yes. The point is, you're equivocating here. You're saying that a cursed world must entail God's existence, but it might just be that it's a natural world that you just don't like. All right, I have preferences about things I don't like, but I don't call that a cursed world, because when you call it a cursed world, that implies that there is some being that has that's making a judgment on the world, that the world is bad, right? Why, or what we're doing is bad. Why must that be the objective facts of reality? Why can't we just be in a world in which there are things we like and don't like, and that's it?
Well, I think we're getting away from the main point of my call, and the point of my call is to say, to me, God doesn't have to exist in any form of reality for me to find utility in believing in Him.
Oh, okay. I see. So you're saying, well, okay. So what kind of utility does it bring you to believe in God? Makes you comfortable?
For me, huh? For me,
yeah. What kind of utility does it bring you to believe in God?
For me, the utility it brings me is less fear of a death, a permanent, like it makes life seem a little bit more permanent if it's going to last for all eternity. It makes my death a little bit more palatable. Because I mean the way that
so I agree that there might be a very minor level of utility, of positive utility, that comes about when you believe in these things. I mean, but so can believing in unicorns that give you money, right? Leprechauns that make you rich, right? Those might give me utility too, but they have no bearing on its truth value. I mean, it's going to be no one's going to accept. Would you accept if I said believing in leprechauns giving me gold Would that be evidence of leprechauns to you? Because I feel happy after for believing it.
If it makes you happy, then by all the more means, I would support your belief, because I'm not one of those. I'm not a fundamentalist Christian. I'm not a fundamentalist Christian.
Is it more important?
Oh,
Is it more important for you to feel good about that belief rather than for that belief to be true?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Because
I mean, that gives us a better idea of where you stand at. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean,
you know what? I hate.
Go ahead, Mike.
I hate that I hate that I have to give you guys that, because I know you guys don't like that answer. That's a real answer you guys don't like.
No, I don't. It's not that I dislike that answer at all. I just wanted to see where we stood. There's no reason for me to dislike that answer.
So where I would chime in here is saying that I agree that there might be some positive utility here, but there's nothing that this. I understand where you're coming from, right? You believe in God because it makes you feel better about the existential questions about reality, right? Death and all these things. But that again presupposes that as an atheist, I feel bad. And there's some kind of inherent nihilism as an atheist that is negative. No, I could be an atheist and be very happy. In fact, I am. I'm very content. And it's in when I'm confronted with these questions about where do we go, how do we get here. When I'm confronted with these questions, I don't cower away and say, "Oh, I'm just going to believe in God and make me feel comfy." I face these questions. And I know from your perspective that might seem scary to confront the mysteries of the world and say, oh, what happens when we die? Maybe nothing happens. Maybe we just turn to dust and that's it. Right? That might scare you initially, but when you face those demons and you face those fears, and you could actually come out of the other side of that with a reduced amount, with a diminished amount of fear, because you recognize at the end of the day, it's okay if we turn to dust and don't come back. It's okay. Right? There's a kind of acceptance that occurs.
That reminds me. Recently, I was taking a little ride on something fun, fun ride on a little mind-altering substance. That shall not be named. But I was like in a transcendental state of meditation, and for a few moments, I did not feel my body or had a single thought in my head. And then when I snapped out of it, I said, "That's my God. That's what death is. If death is just a dreamless sleep, like Plato said, or Socrates, I always forget which one said it. Then we have nothing to fear of death, because it's just a dream. No thought, and you can't feel your body."
Well, yeah. The point here is that you can be content. You can face these existential questions with humility, with curiosity, wonder, and acceptance, and say, "Yeah, this is it. Maybe this is all we got. In the people you love, the family you have, that's all we have." And in fact, in my view, it makes this life all that more meaningful, because this is all we got, right? The finitude of it makes it all that more meaningful to me, versus what you're doing. It's kind of like, oh, I feel better temporarily because I feel better, but in the long term, you're missing out on all the appreciation, the humility that comes from accepting our possible fates.
Right.
Of not coming back to this, or not living forever. I think there's a huge amount of utility in accepting those things. And so, yeah, that's just my perspective as an atheist.
Is it also possible that it might be dangerous to follow an idea because it makes you feel good, and then base life decisions on that feeling good, only to have it fail because it's not actually a truthful statement?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was kind of surprised when you said it was more important to feel good than to be truthful, because I mean, it might make you feel really good right now, but 2 weeks from now, it might all fall apart and you're going to feel twice as bad as you're feeling right now. So I always worry about,
right.
whether or not, if the statement isn't truthful, whether that's going to affect your life in a negative way if you buy into the idea, the untruthful idea. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Right. Makes perfect sense. Makes absolutely 100% perfect sense, Kelly. I tell you what, it does. And it's not a question I haven't thought about. But what about all the alcoholics and drug addicts and people who turn around their lives because they were in a motel room and they read the Gideon Bible and some verses out of it and got saved, became Christians or whatever.
Well,
Just because
I could wait a minute, because I'm gonna jump in right here. What about all the drug addicts and the alcoholics who changed their life without that Gideon Bible? What about I know at least one ex-drug addict alcoholic who changed their life because they stopped believing in these type of things, that they realized that
right.
this supernatural entity was not going to change my life and make it better. The only thing that was going to do that was myself getting up and making that change, wanting to make that change and doing the physical things that are needed to make that change. So what do you think? I mean, like, I hear where you're coming from with your Gideon's Bible, but there's people on the other side as well. So I'm not sure that utility is that useful when you can get to the same place without it.
Right. Can I answer to that? Because I was just having
Sure,
this dialogue. I was just having this dialogue with someone, with 3 or 4 people in a Zoom meeting room not too long ago, or about last week. And I said to him, "Don't tell me you're like the fundy Christian who says, 'Hey, mate, I know what you think you have going on over here is the bee's knees, but come on over to my side. I'll show you the real truth. I'll show you the real thing that'll set you free.'" You're just preaching the same. You're preaching the same thing. You ain't preaching. You're just not preaching anything supernatural. But it's still the same. It's still the same message. We got a different truth.
No, the what? Believing in yourself?
Truth.
I'm not sure it's the same message, because the message I was just talking about was believing in yourself, not in a supernatural being.
But if he's your father and he loves you and he wants to,
there's no but here. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying, right? There's not the two things aren't the same, because one is saying there's not a supernatural being and I can make this change without it, and the other one is relying on a supernatural being that may not exist and making that change. So I know you yourself exist. So instead of relying on a thing that might not exist, why not rely on yourself to make that change?
hey, if alcoholics and drug addicts are getting free, I'm all for it. If they're stopping beating on their wives, if wife beaters are getting set free and not beating on their wives anymore, and alcoholics are getting free, I don't care how it's done. Just stay off the fucking drugs.
Look, we can agree that there is some utility here. If somebody's going through a terrible time in their life and their belief in God might help them to some degree get out of that. Yeah, we're saying that's okay, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be the case that God is the belief that is the only one that can do that, right? The point is that there are other ways of seeing the world that can get you out of this, that can get you to better times. And so the point I'm trying to say is that the belief in God is not somehow unique in this. There's no exclusivity with the God view that somehow makes you a better person only exclusively with this view, right? There's alternative views that I would argue do an even better job if you actually think and take the time to ponder what you're believing, right? A secular point of view could do a far better job in helping in your life.
I agree.
Okay.
Honestly,
So you agree with me? You agree with me that there are holes in the God belief. You agree with me that there's more possible utility in not believing in God. Why do you continue believing in God?
because I've spent hours and hours weeping just because he was loved, because he was pouring his love into my heart, and I felt so warmed, and I felt his big love that he has for me and the rest of humanity, and I was just weeping utter tears. And to me, that's a supernatural and a spiritual encounter with the divine. And for me to take, when you say there's something better than that, there's a truth that's higher than that, that takes something sacred away from me, that takes something special away from me. Can you see that is there something? Can I still take anything special of that moment, of those moments, if there is no God?
We're not saying you can't have a special moment. What we're saying is ultimately your belief in God is unfounded. There's no substance there, and the the reasons why you believe in God, I think, are just baseless. You're basing it on emotions, if anything, right? This is just an appeal to emotion. Oh, I felt a certain way. I had a certain experience. I was out of body, and therefore God, that's Him speaking to me. Right? This is a common inference to make, but I think it's invalid. I think it's invalid to say, I felt good, therefore God talked to me. I think that doesn't make any sense. And we have to do further investigation to understand your situation.
Your premises are sound, and your conclusion is logical. So therefore, it's got to be true. I got to succeed the argument to you. But I'm enthralled. I'm enthralled and impassioned studying religion, and not just Christianity. I mean, all the phases of the world. Studying religion and spirituality enthrall me to the point where I'm just overdone by it all. I mean, into ecstasy. But yeah. But Kelly, that cuss wasn't directed at you. I want you to know. I just got over.
No, that's cool. You know what?
Heat of the moment.
Honestly, even if it was, I wouldn't have taken it personal. So don't worry about that. I'm 65 years old. I got a pretty thick skin by now. So,
Oh, gee.
I have to say though, when you were talking before about how you didn't want to turn your back on all these years of belief in this and this feeling that you had, and I couldn't help but thinking this kind of sounds like a sunk cost fallacy, that I've invested so much into this that I'm going to keep investing in it, even if it's a bad investment, because I don't want to admit that I've already invested so much into it. Do you understand the sunk cost fallacy?
I've never heard it before, but I'm getting what you're getting at.
Yeah, and I learned that lesson when I was very young with one of my very first cars. Bought a used car and kept sinking money into it every time it would break down, and it would just break down again 6 months later. And by the time 2 years had gone by, I could have taken the money I had invested in this old beat up car and actually bought myself a much better car. But I had to keep this one running because I had already invested so much money in it. I didn't want to just let it go.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you guys are good. You guys are good. You guys, I can't argue with you guys. You know me, Kelly. I call frequently and stuff, and I just think if ever I could pull something out that would impress these guys logically, like a good sound argument for anything, I feel way better about myself for some reason. Like that's my big delusion, I suppose.
You know what, Michelle? I'm impressed by your persistence in trying to find that. That's impressive in and of itself. So keep that up, because that's
pointless.
That's your sense of curiosity and your sense of wanting to think better working, and you don't give that up. Keep working that.
But if it's pointless, if the God thing is pointless, why Should I give it up though? Why are you saying? You're saying don't give it up, but if the God thing is pointless, shouldn't I give that? Shouldn't I give that up?
I wasn't talking about your belief in God. I'm talking about your desire to know and to find better arguments. That's
Yeah.
what I think is good.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
advise you to continue learning, keep learning, keep asking questions. You're on the right track. You're learning. You're asking the right questions. That's the whole part of all this, right? We're not necessarily here to say we have the truth and you must believe this. What we're saying is investigate the world. Let's probe it. Let's poke it. Let's see what happens, and that's how we discover the truth.
Oh,
Sometimes we might make mistakes. We might be wrong. We might have beliefs that are wrong, and that's what we have to accept if you want to know the truth.
right. Hey, do you guys want to know the number one reason why I want Jesus to be Lord and come back in the sky? The number one.
Why is that?
So I can be the first person to notice he's riding on the clouds and look up and point and say, "Holy shit! It's Jesus fucking Christ!"
I'll admit that would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there he is. He got a halo and everything. Shit. Oh, I know where I'm going.
Okay, guys, you've been more than gracious with your time. I'll let you go.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for calling in. And I encourage you to call back. I know we've talked before, and I'd love to talk again. So,
Thanks, Kelly.
all righty, that went well.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice talking to you.